Okay, hello all. This is my module 3 blog, 7 days late. So, we need to talk about a funny situation that has happened to me or someone else. And I'm gonna share a story of when I was in Colombia. I made a really nice friend named Jose. I call him my problematic fave because he's always saying something that is not okay, but you're also like, it's not that bad. So you kind of just go with it and you kind of love him for it. And we always spoke in English. That's important to know as well. So maybe, but his English was also at like a good 900 level, like out of 1,000. So that's not really an excuse either. But anywho, after we had been friends for a couple months, I was in his room, and he's looking at me, and we watched a lot of like RuPaul and Beyonce videos of that nature, and and just looking at Beyonce with her like long hair, her long blonde hair, he asked me, is everyone like you born like that? And like that, he was gesturing towards my hair, like, is everybody born like that? And then I was like, yeah, and not everybody has the same hair texture, but yes, we are all born relatively with like a curlier hair texture pattern. Not everybody, but the most of us are. And that for him was very shocking. I don't know how to make this story funny, but it was very humorous, at least just how people perceive black people or people of African descent overseas or everywhere they go. It's kind of like, wow, so you really left the house like that. That's not like just a really bad perm gone wrong. No, this is how my hair naturally is, which is, I feel like this is a very common narrative that a lot of black ladies are sharing these days, since we can create our own media and whatnot. Now a serious part. We're moving in, which is about human perception principles, ethnocentrism, stereotypes, marking in-group, out-group membership, boundaries, prejudice, discrimination, and racism. So I'm also going to share another story while I'm in Colombia, and that, I guess, something that I've really been thinking about with this course is how we identify ourselves in certain situations. And here in the States, like specifically in my own home, I identify as me, like I don't really have, I'm myself. But outside of my home, I identify as a black woman. I'm inside my home as well, but I don't really have to think about it that much. But outside of my home, I identify as a black woman. And that I think about because, you have to, you don't have to, but I'm very hyper aware of how people perceive me. And I'm constantly assuming how people perceive me. If I get a nasty look, I'm like, oh, they hate me, I'm black, oh, they hate me. Which isn't always true. They might just be having a bad day, but that's just how, my psyche works. But if I'm in Virginia, there's another added step of my identity. It's yes, I'm a black woman from Maryland. You kind of continuously group yourself of who you're going to be and depending on the situation. So outside of the country, I am a black American woman, just that's me. So, when I was in Colombia, the second day I was there, me and the other Americans in my program, we went to the zoo. And that was fun because we're all bonding together. We're wow, we're all from every different state. Somebody's from Oregon, somebody's from Michigan. We all kind of have standard accents, but every now and then somebody says a slang word and we're that's not real slang. Nobody uses that. So there's that. But, we're looking at these animals and we're laughing. They have a white deer, not a white deer, a white-tailed deer, normal deers here. But over there in Colombia, that's an exotic animal. So they have that on display. And we're laughing at this, sense and perceived Americanness, and we're all really feeling it. But, as this goes along, as we're looking at all these wild and exotic animals that are in the cages, somebody stops and asks me about my hair. And it's for me, that was a very uncomfortable moment because it's I was really feeling ow, I'm in the in group. This is our little American group. I don't even have to worry about race right now because nationality is trumping race. And then I was I thought, yikes. So from there, somebody's hey, Kiara, how come you don't straighten your hair? And I'm I like to play along. I don't like to be aggressively hostile. you know, and I also just met these people, so I'm like, oh, you know, my hair isn't really at the length where if I straightened it, it would look nice. And then some guy comes up and he's like, well, you could chemically straighten it, without like knowing like the history of straightening your hair, and like that there's hair politics and there's body politics, which is an awesome class that you should take here at UMBC with Dr. Kimberly Moffitt, who is an angel and awesome. But like it's political, and even me wearing my hair naturally in its natural state, the way God had intended it, is like, it's a statement. Like, and they're asking me like, oh, so is this like against the man? And I'm like, no, this is not freaking hair. You do that. But it's like that, and it's kind of just like in that assumption that, you know, us being out of the country would somehow make me on like an equal playing field, or make me somehow just like, yeah, of course I'm American. Look, we're all speaking English. We're laughing at the same jokes. We all get it. Ha 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 ha. And then somebody points out like, you know, the fact that I'm different. And it wasn't even like any like stereotyping of that nature. It was just like very much like, I'm not in the in group. Like, even when I'm out of the country, nationalism still doesn't trump race. Like, I'm still black. And that's my story. I think all of it was pretty serious, but I hope that you liked the Colombian asking me if Beyonce had hair like this part, where she was born with long blonde hair, which is a weave. And we could talk about weaves, but that's a whole nother blog post. And thanks, friends. Bye.